What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Ron from the Young Melanated Council. Bam! That's me. Well, I'm one third of the trio, but typically we go live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and wherever else you're at in the world, you know, please figure that out because my brain hurts. As you can tell, I am sweating, dropping bullets right now. And as always, please like, subscribe, and enjoy the show. Leave a comment and just hang out and vibe with us. Okay? So, got a few things going on. Few things going on. All right. So, we have a lot of things. So, this month is a lot. So, we got Pride Month. We're still in the midst of Pride Month. We're going on. We've been talking. We've had a couple topics in relation to Pride Month, and then we also have Caribbean American Heritage Month. And so that month is pretty. So this month is dedicated to our friends, our neighbors that have Caribbean roots, and so we want to celebrate them as well. Also, this month, Black Music Month. So again, shouting out a lot of our Black music artists from all over, no matter what genre of music that you're in. We're going to support you. We're going to salute you, and we're going to showcase you. But we're also dedicating this month to families. Yes, you heard it. You heard it right. We are dedicating this month to families because it's June. Today is the first day of summer. A lot of school districts are out of school right now. So we got vacations going on, barbecues. Sunday was Father's Day, also Juneteenth. So this month has a lot going on. There's a lot going on with this month. And so with this month in particular, like I said before, me, Al, Toby, we all came together and say, hey, why not? We got all these different things going on this month. Why not just pretty much deal with the family and deal with the aspect of families? Because the family, it reaches in so many things and so many different topics, our surrounding families as well. So, like, you know what? Why not? Why not? So pretty much our overall theme for the month of June is dedicated to families. And then, like I said before, we have topics. We've had last week we had a topic dealing with should kids watch drag shows, and then I think the week before that it might have done something with music, entertainment, something I can't remember. Can't remember because we were still in school. And I think the week before that we had something. We had another topic. So we've had all these different topics, all these different viewpoints that's dealing with the family and using a lot of the major topics or talking points to kind of break each and everything down. So that way you have a well versatile a well versatile stream dedicated to talking about different topics and just being able to sit around and talk about these topics that really don't get talked about a lot. So that's what we're doing. Okay. So we're doing that and we're going to have fun. We're going to have a blast. So, per usual, before we get into anything dealing with the topic at hand, of course, we got to ask the question: how are you guys doing? Yes, this is the part of the mental health check-in thing that we do, not only for ourselves but also for you that's watching as well. So, again, reaching out to you guys and asking the question: how are you guys doing? How was your weekend? For all of our fathers that are out there, happy belated Father's Day. How was your Father's Day? What did you do? You know, let me get inside your business. Basically, let me get inside your business. Let me see what's going on in your world. Let me see what's going on in your neck of the woods. I'm going to post that question in the chat. So that way, whoever comes in, you'll be able to see that question and you will be able to answer it as you see fit. Hey, I think we got one person out the trio that just showed up. You don't know, you don't need any further explanation of who this person is. We already know we love them, we adore them. It's Toby the Smooth. Give it up to Toby the Smooth.
Appreciate that intro.
Yeah.
Cameras look good. Okay, this is a little strange. Yes. What is up, y'all? What is up? I slightly rearranged my area, so I'm streaming from
Mm-hmm.
my living room instead of my bedroom. So I was trying to clear up some space and make sure that this actually made sense. Um, Chilling on the couch right now.
There you go.
So yeah. What's going on though? What is happening?
Not a whole lot. I was just um, doing our normal check-in with the chat. I was going to pose a couple questions in the chat.
Cool. Yeah, I'm checking right now to see also. Um, Chat. I saw the Twitter and I retweeted that. 'Cause I
Mm-hmm.
never really am on Twitter, but funny enough, the reason why I went on Twitter, and that's something I was going to mention. I'll still
Mm-hmm.
mention it in the Discord, but we need to update some links. Twitter link
Mm,
is fine, but not the Twitch link. The Twitch link is
got it.
still the old username.
Okay. No, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Bam. All right. So anybody that is watching, how was your Father's Day weekend? How to all the fathers in the chat? How was your weekend in general? And how are you doing tonight? So those are the three questions up for discussion as of right now before we dive into our topic for tonight. And while you guys are typing that in the chat, Toby, I'm gonna swing it towards you. So, how was your weekend, and how are you doing as of right now?
Weekend was good. Um, it was good. I got to catch up with two friends who I hadn't seen in person in a long time. Um, like literally one I may not have seen in person since like last year December. Um, yeah, it sounds about right. The other person I think I hadn't seen in person, maybe also last year November December, separate occasions, but
Mm-hmm.
so that was really good. I was able to really like connect and just like catch up. Um, and then so that was like Friday, Saturday. Saturday, I went out to a concert. Davido, very popular Afrobeat artist. Like some like the more I don't want to say basic, but some of the songs that you might hear played on like other more mainstream radio, like he has
Mm-hmm.
some of those songs. So I feel like he's a pretty easy person to listen to, even if you're not heavy deep into Afrobeat or African music. So Davido was in Boston on Saturday night. Um, hey, what's up, Chad?
Hey, what's
Um,
going on, Chad?
there was also a Juneteenth festival that happens like it's like it happens every year, but it was a lot bigger last year because things had just like reopened, and so like
Mm-hmm.
it was packed and massive. I remember last year, and Juneteenth was also on a Saturday, so I think that was the other thing about that. Juneteenth was a
Right.
Saturday, so it ended up being the actual day. This time Juneteenth was Sunday, so Saturday it was still like the festival and celebration, but I think like it also just and then it was also very like overcast, so it was a lot cooler, way cooler.
Yes.
Which kind of works out. There were no bugs, there was no like annoyances to deal with. It wasn't super
Mm-hmm.
hot, but it was like I'm pretty sure it got to the 50s. Like because I remember when I went outside, I was like it's like 60 something. It's overcast. I had to get my jacket. I also don't have a car, as you all know, but I didn't have a rental. But I usually have a rental. I had returned my rental Wednesday, so now
Mm-hmm.
like I basically like I had to Uber. and like actually kind of figure that situation out. I had to deal with my phone like dying or almost dying because like
Sheesh.
it did die twice. So thankfully, I was able to get where I needed to go, and I was able to charge it at the concert, which was not ideal at all. And I was able to charge it. There was a third, like an after party, kind of for the concert, but also kind of for the festival because the Juneteenth outdoor sort of festival in this park in Boston, like a majority black neighborhood in Boston. That park, that event was like probably from 12 to 7. I got there probably like 4 because I had other stuff I was doing earlier. Um, and then the concert was like 7/8, really onwards. And then after like 11, a bunch of us showed up to the after thing in Cambridge. So like it was 3 things kind of back to back. Thankfully, I was able to get a ride from the concert to the after party, and then I was able to get a ride home, which I really appreciated because I was like, oh man, like I would have Ubered, of course, if I had to, but thankfully I got a little bit of rescue. And then Sunday, Monday, I really stayed in. I just stayed in. Briefly hung out with someone, but that was like early. And then after like the basically all of Sunday, it was just to myself. Monday, same thing. I didn't. That was a holiday for me yesterday, so thankfully I actually got the day off. I tried sleeping in a little bit, but I was kind of up already, so I just kind of stayed up, made some spaghetti, some basic food. Watched a lot of TV. I was really trying to catch up on. I think I wanted to catch up on All American or Criminal Minds, and then I instead found this new show called First Kill. It's like a vampire show.
Okay.
So it's like 2 teen girls, one's white, one's black, and you find out it's not really a spoiler because you see it from the trailer and the information. But one of them is like in a vampire family. The other one is a family of monster hunters, which is more generic than just vampires and zombies. There's ghouls, wraiths, and all these other things. And it was cool because it was like the monster hunter family was black, so you got to see like especially a lot of black women, like people who were like they had like swords and they had all this.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, cool, I like this. And so it was an interesting show. I feel like it's they're teenagers and you have some like young love type stuff, and they're both girls who kind of have a love interest in each other. So that's also a bit different than like Twilight, where you have this like. So not only is it interracial, there's also 2 women or 2 girls, whatever. So I did not expect to watch it. I just kind of saw like a little like preview, that Netflix be doing, and so I was like, let me just like see this. And then next thing you know, I was like 6 episodes in. I think there was 8 episodes in that season, so I only saw like the first 5 or 6. So, we didn't even have time.
Wait a minute. Hold on. First of all, you didn't even allow me to give you no introduction. You just like, you know what? I'm gonna just jump on in, like bump everything. Like, okay, Elle, I see you. Push away on in. Go for it.
No, I felt bad because I was just late, so I was like, let me just come in.
But I gotta get you I gotta introduce you to the peoples.
Do you want me to leave and come back?
No, you're already here. Get comfortable.
Everybody, late.
You're not late. You are on time because the party does not start until you jump in.
Oh, okay. So now we can party.
Yeah.
It is like right after our holiday. This is like turn up for the whole week, whole weekend, the whole month.
Yep.
Yeah. No, for sure. Sorry, I'm gonna be like eating. I'm starving.
I have tea that I'm drinking, so I'm just gonna be taking my sips too in between. But I mean, overall, it was cool. Nothing crazy. Like just vampire or supernatural. I guess is a good way of putting it. And that's not a genre I usually really did much with. I guess you had Smallville, but that was I don't know. I don't even know how I got into Smallville. Superhero stuff, I guess. But when it comes to like monsters and like fantasy, it's never been really my domain as much. But it was cool. I mean, I need to go back and finish those last like 2 or 3 episodes. But I kind of got watching All American because I needed to watch season 4, and I'd only seen parts of it. I was like doing the cheapest thing possible. I was using like Google Play credits to like pay for episodes that I could watch on Amazon. Or I think it was no, it was I think I was able to watch I was able to watch an episode on Amazon because I had some credit for like one thing. So I saw like the first episode of All American some months ago of season 4 on Amazon. But then I was like, I don't want to pay for more. But then I realized, I can use my Google Play credits that I've been earning from random things. But even then I was only able to watch like 4 episodes. So I got to episode 5, and that was like right before I moved in April. And then I found out, All American is now on Netflix because there's a delay for like how the live filming is, because that's actually on the CW. So most shows I watch on Netflix are not like, and I feel like a lot of them are mostly Netflix shows. So I kind of forgot that there were like actual channels these shows are on. So long story short, I was like, okay, now the season is completely filmed and there was the whatever delay that needed to happen, and now Netflix is carrying it. So I started rewatching episodes 1 to 5 just so I can kind of remember everything that happened. And then I started watching like maybe 6 and 7, and then that was like yesterday, so I didn't really get to finish before I slept. So I was gonna do it today, but I work and then catching up with stuff, and then I didn't really have time before now. So I'll probably do that maybe after the stream, or be responsible and go to bed and then watch tomorrow. But I really do want to finish All American. Though I'm not really close to finishing the season, but I am close to the vampire thing. Long story short, I gave myself some time that I needed to myself Monday and Sunday, and I was very happy to give myself that. And I'm still catching up on a lot of like messages because I was offline like all of yesterday. And it is what it is. I think some people may have been like, "Oh, you're ignoring me," and I was like, "No, I'm not ignoring people. I just did not want to give my energy yesterday." I mean, I texted some people, I feel like, but even then I kind of dropped off because I was just like, I'm just taking today off in every single type of way. But
so did you have yesterday off?
Yes. So that's what I said earlier to Ron. I had yesterday off. We got it off like 2 weeks ago. Like literally the email was the week before that. Like it wasn't last week. I don't remember when it was 2 weeks ago, but it was probably like it was some point, like not. It was kind of like less. I feel like we got less than like 2 full weeks to realize that we had Juneteenth off, and I was like, oh my god, because Juneteenth was a federal holiday, but we don't get off every federal holiday, even though we literally are funded by federal contracts. Like we don't get President's Day off, we don't get Columbus Day off, but we do get everything else off. We get Veterans Day, which is nice because that's like a week, usually 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So it's just like kind of a nice random day to get off. Everything else though is pretty standard. Obviously the 4th we'll get Labor Day, but did you have off?
Yeah, my company, we've had it off since 2020 because of the whole George Floyd murder. So it's been nice. So this was like my 3rd year. I can't believe it's been, because 2020, 2021, 2022, yeah, it's weird counting it because that is 3 Juneteenths.
Oh wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, like it was fun. Like I had a great weekend. Like I love 3-day weekends. I feel like that should just be the standard because like, you can squeeze a lot into 3 days, and it feels like, I don't know, like every week is a vacation almost. It's like, okay, instead of just a weekend, it's like a little vacation. So
interesting point.
Yeah. So Saturday was like a really big day for me. It was my photo shoot, and I shared a little bit about it in the Discord chat. It was, I don't know if I told you guys this, but like it was pretty much for my 30th birthday, even though my 30th birthday was like 10 months ago. But it was, I decided to just like, let me just celebrate my 30th all year, for the entire 30th year. because why not?
Mm.
So, so I did that, and it went great. I was nervous as fuck about it for a long time because initially I wanted it to be in April. So that's because April of 2021 is when I started like my fitness journey, started, seeing my trainer and all that. I wanted to see if I could do it in April. And then I tried to push it to May, but like me and my photographer just couldn't do it because I had like sprained my wrist and got COVID. And she had, stuff going on too. So it's just like, let me just, I was trying to push it to July, but like July wasn't really working. So it was like, all right, let me just do June and let's just see how it goes. like, like, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I kept trying to remind myself, like, okay, I'm doing this for myself. 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 So like, it's like, who am I? What do I usually look like? And how am I usually? Because I kept thinking about like, I don't know, I should probably dress like this because I know that my mom would like it, or I should probably like, I don't know, like put makeup on, which I was planning to, but then like the makeup artist kind of fled or like just like skipped out. And I was like, okay. But I never really wear makeup anyway. I don't know, MacBooks do a good job with like creating some sort of weird filter. This is not my face. Sorry to break it to you all, but it's close. It's not like way too off. Like you would be able to, like you could recognize me on the street. So you just might be like a smidge disappointed.
I thought this was an imposter coming in. I was like, huh?
Wow.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like we did some pictures at her place and then also on the beach. So I'm looking forward to those pictures coming. Sunday I did absolutely nothing. I just stayed at home and pigged out because I have, like I wouldn't say I was like super responsible for like the past year and some change like with my dieting and eating right. But I was just like, yo, this is a massive milestone. I'm gonna like fucking eat cookies and just eat chocolate and just pig out. And I just stayed at home and just ate a bunch of cookies. And I like regular food too, but I was really happy about the cookies. And then Monday, yesterday, I went to get some coffee with a friend, like yesterday morning, and like we caught up and we're talking a lot, for a while, and then he had to run, and I was just like, well, shit, I'm in Fort Lauderdale and I have nothing to do. Let me just go around and see what's open. Not too many places were open, unfortunately, because I guess a lot of places just aren't open on Mondays. Like mainly, like I was like trying to look for like a brewery or something, but I found some places and like I drank kind of a lot ish, and just sort of like kind of ate whatever I wanted, just like to continue the celebration because I was just like, you know what, I deserve this. So
There you go.
yeah, but I've calmed down. I understand I'm eating like chicken wings, but chicken wings isn't that bad.
No.
And I did go to the gym today. I was able to run a mile under 10 minutes, which was kind of like a first for me, so I was excited. And yeah, and here I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go a mile under 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Let's see. What did I do this weekend? So went to the water festival in my town. So basically, like all of the, excuse me. So all of the in-city food vendors came out, car shows, of course. The amusement park came out, set up shop. That was in downtown, and was able to see a lot of the kids that went to the school I was pretty much helping out at. Saw them, got the chance to talk to them, catch up with them, see how they were doing, how their summer was going. And it was really nice. It was really nice to see them. Um, there was one ride that I've been eyeballing. And I was like, man, I can't wait to get on it. Can't wait to get on it. And so basically, what it is Um, you guys know what the zipper ride is, right? Where you kind of it's like the zipper is more so like a ride that's kind of like this, like at an angle, and as it's rotating, you have the ability to rotate your car at the same time. So it's really weird, but it's really fun. So this one was more so in the circle, and you can still basically do the same thing. So I've been eyeballing it, like eyeballing, like man, that looks like fun. And so my kids, my two oldest kids, they went on there both at the same time, and then they went on like kind of staggered. One went one time, another one went on another time, and they're like, "Dad, you got to try it. Dad, you got to try it." Like, I will." And so I told my daughter, like, "Hey, do you have 4 tickets left?" She was like, "Yeah." Why? I was like, "Can I get those 4 tickets so we can go on that ride? Like, that's the only thing I want to do. I just want to go on that ride." And so, like, yeah, sure, go for it. Like, sweet. And so my youngest, I guess, like earlier in the day, he kind of chickened out, and he was like, "I don't want to do it." And so he actually, he's like, "Dad, are you going on this ride?" Like, "Yeah, you want to go on with me?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, "You sure?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Bet, let's do it." So we probably went at the most worst time ever because it was getting cold. And as it's getting cold, the wind starts to pick up a little bit. So I'm like, this is not going to be good. So we finally get on. We get on like, yeah, we're on here. And so, of course, it's letting us on. We get in. And so as we're like pretty much going up and up and whatnot, the wind starts coming. I'm like, oh, this is going to suck. And so my youngest, he's on the inside part. He's looking at me. He's like, "Dad, I'm cold." I'm like, "Dude, I know. Like, I'm cold too. I'm right there with you. Like, but we're on this ride. We're gonna do it. We're gonna have fun, right? Right." That man was petrified, but he was on there. So like, okay, cool, great. Let's do it. So everybody gets loaded on. Right? Right. So like, okay, cool, great. So we're going in a nice little circle, and it starts to pick up a little bit. Like, okay, cool, great, like we're good. So as it's picking up, our car tends to kind of like rock a little bit, like with me doing it, and with gravity doing its thing too. So we're rocking. My son, he's bracing himself, and he got his eyes closed. I'm like, okay, here we go. We're getting ready to do this. So as we're rocking and going in the circle, I feel my glasses falling off. I'm like, holy crap, my glasses are about to fall off. So we get down to the bottom and we're shooting up right towards the top. As we're shooting up towards the top, our car is actually flipping backwards. So as our car is flipping backwards, my glasses fly off. At the same time my glasses fly off, I kind of grab them and kind of push them against the cage so they won't drop. The same time that's happening, we're flipping upside down. I'm like, holy crap. So, yeah, dog hair. So we're flipping upside down as we're coming down at the same time. And for anybody who's been on a roller coaster, you know what G forces is when you kind of get lifted up off your seat. That's what happened. And I see my son on the other end. He's lifted up himself, and he's not a tall person at all. He's really short for his age. He's really short, so he's getting lifted up and getting flung. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna have fun. So we kind of get down and we settle. And I'm like, okay, dude, you're doing good. You're doing an awesome job. He's like, I am. I'm like, dude, yes. Like, if you need to keep your eyes closed throughout this whole ride, you do what you got to do. And this man did not make a sound after I talked to him. Not a sound. He was quiet. He was doing this. Like, I'm over here having a good old time. I'm looking at him. I'm like, poor kid. Like, this would probably be his first and last time doing this for real. But I had to give it to him because he stuck it out. So I'm like, okay. So we got done. He was like, Dad, like, yeah. He's like, do I have to go on that again? Like, you don't have to. Like, That was good enough. You survived that ride. You lived to tell the story. He was like, okay, great, because I'm cold, I am hungry, and I want to go see mom. Like, okay, cool. Let's go see your mom and everything else. So that was Saturday. Sunday, of course, is Father's Day. And we had a picnic at the church that I go to. And it was fun. We played kickball with the kids. So it's pretty much adults versus kids. The adults, we were winning at first. And somehow, some way, the kids kind of rallied together and kind of caught up and won. Don't ask. Don't ask. Because we were still making the comeback to ourselves. But man, I don't know what it is, but I know with my oldest son, one of the Deacons, his son was on the same team, and a few other kids from the neighborhood was on the same team. And a good friend of mine's, his kid was on the same team. And we're just like, holy crap, like how? But it was another student that he knew was on our team. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be on you guys' team. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I want to win. And we're gonna do whatever we got to do to win. We're like, cool, bet. At the end of the kickball game, we only lost by like 3 runs, which is not bad. We lost by 3. And so it was cool. It was a cool, and a lot of kids like, hey, when's the next time you guys are having another event? We're like, well, we'll keep you posted. Like, but we're probably not planning on doing something soon during the summertime. So at least that way you guys can get off the street. You have another place to go and hang out and so forth and so forth. So it was cool. Old folks tired. And listen, we was a bunch of young bucks. Like the people who I played with, they were basically around about my age. Like I'm 33, I'll be 34. And everybody else was, I think the one guy, he was 30, 34, 35. And then I think the other guy was about the same age, about 34, 35. His student was in middle school. So we had a middle school student, and then the other guy that was on our team, he was like in his early to mid 20s. I'll put it like that, early to mid 20s. You know, but we still have fun. We still had fun. You know, my stepdad, he played and whatnot, and actually no, we also had one of the referees. He played too as well, so he was a good game of kickball, and he did really good. He did really good. He tripped and tumbled and made it to first base, which was awesome. My stepdad, he kicked the ball 2 good times. After the second time, he was, because his knee and leg messed up as he was running to home plate and whatnot. He was like, "Yep, nope, can't do it no more. Can't do it." Like, it's okay. It was a thought that counts. It was a thought that counts. Then early that night, my dad called, wished him happy Father's Day. We talked for a little bit and whatnot. And we were talking about going down to Texas for my sister's birthday, which is in November. And it's literally a week before my birthday. So I'm like, that's awesome. That's amazing. So we talked about that. They just talked about like when are we going to try to make a beeline out to come see him in California. I'm like, we've been working on that. It's been in the works and whatnot. Like, so like once we get everything worked out and solidified, then I will let you know. He said, cool, great, bet. And even then, you know, while we're talking about that, this week, we are packing to start our first family vacation, which is the following week. Me and my family have the privilege of actually traveling to the Dominican Republic next week. So that's going to be amazing. We're pretty much going to be there for that first full week. of July, and I think I'll probably be doing that Tuesday stream in the Dominican Republic. So that's going to be awesome.
Oh,
That's
snap.
going, yeah, that's going to be awesome. And even then, we've always talked about getting our passports and doing a lot of traveling with the kids, anyways. And with my grandfather-in-law pretty much paying for everybody's ticket, he was like, yeah, as long as you guys get your passports, that's all you need to do. I'll cover for the airfare and everything else. So like, cool, great. So me and the missus, we said to be like, yo, we got our passports, right? Right. Like we can actually start taking the kids like outside of the country and travel outside the country for once. I'm like, you know what? That is absolutely correct. Let's start doing that. So they're not just stuck in the good old United States. Like, no, they can travel outside the United States and visit different places and just have fun. So probably do that and start planning for like future trips outside of the country a lot. I know me and her, we talked about doing some trips outside of the country, just together, just me and her going out. And I personally would like to go outside of the country and travel with a group of friends. So I think, what was it? Might have been last year or 2 years ago. We think we had an episode dedicated towards traveling. And I know somebody mentioned that they had passports, and I told them I was working on getting mine. So let's do it. I
Yeah,
got mine. So let's go.
I think that was Erica. Erica
Erica,
Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
Erica
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. Erica definitely mentioned it. I have to watch the episode again too because one time, like we were on the phone talking about her campaign. This had to be like last year in the summer, um, or something. Like she called me because I know they're doing like a watch party and all this other stuff. But we talked on the phone for a little bit, which is cool because we don't really talk on the phone. We just like pass that like on social media or maybe text. But even then, it's not
Mm-hmm.
super casual. So like, it was kind of cool just to like talk her voice. And she was like, "I'm so serious. Like we mentioned going to Greece. Like you, me, Janie, L, Ron. He's like, I'm really down for that." And I was like, "Oh shoot, was that a thing?" I was like, "Wait a second, that happened." I was like, "Okay." I do remember us talking though on that stream, and again, it was like a good stream. We actually had another because that was like early, like maybe June or July. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe July because June was kind of heavy with a lot of the police protesting and stuff. But we did talk about it in like 2020, and then last year we three of us had an episode on travel, probably closer to August.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, oh, her birthday was in August, and so I remember she was going to be traveling, and so I think there was just like kind of a appetite for travel in that time. Um, and this year we could do it again. Um,
Yes.
Summer is always like a pretty. Oh well, whenever we talk about transportation, um, that will fit in nicely, or it could just be kind of a one-off episode. But
Yeah, no, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And y'all just reminded me, I still gotta book my plane ticket to Atlanta because that's where I want to go for my birthday this year.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go to the
Gotta,
ATL. Nice.
ATL,
mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah, piece of it. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
this.
there you go.
Yeah.
Piece of A Town Down. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Dead.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been there in some years. Oh man, Atlanta is a cool vibe. Even though I
Yeah,
haven't
no,
really explored as much as I wish I had, but go ahead.
oh no, I was saying again. No, I'm looking forward to it because I have like a few friends in Atlanta who I want to see, and yeah, I don't know how many days I want to spend there though. Maybe like 3, 4 days. That's the thing about traveling. It's like sometimes you just kind of want to like get it in quick and then kind of come back, and then there's other times when you're just like, you just want to stay there for maybe like 2 weeks to a month,
Mm,
but it's like you just can't afford it.
right. Right. No, I felt that. I definitely felt that one.
I
Yeah.
am
I
thinking
mean,
about. Oh, go on, sorry, Ron.
no. Go for it. Go for it.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I am thinking about, like, maybe visiting Boston for like a month because my sister lives there, and like I'm still working from home, so it's like I technically can do that, but I also have to talk to her about it. Like,
Huh.
I'm sure she wouldn't like. I know like she'd be fine with like 2 weeks, but I don't know about like a whole month though. That's a long time when you think about it. But like, but, yeah, because I want to do that sometime in the winter so I could like finally see snow. I still haven't done that shit.
Oh, it wasn't really snow. Yeah, you came too early last time. You were there
Oh.
like first week. Actually, Boston's been kind of weird. Like when I first, I mean, Maryland is like a little further south than Boston, but I still consider it similar temperate. And so like there was a time where we would never get snow until like at least New Year's.
Right.
It was very strange. Like we wouldn't get any snow in the Christmas time. We wouldn't really even get it around New Year's. It wasn't until like mid-January, end of January, even February. And then we would get very bad snow. Oftentimes around Valentine's Day, even like March. Like some of the worst I've seen is like close to spring break. I remember. So like recently, it's been kind of all over the place. Like last year, the snow wasn't that bad, but 2020, the year of the pandemic, I remember it snowed a bunch like a week before Halloween, and it was very strange. It was like a lot of snow, but then it like warmed up enough for it to melt. November,
that's
like
weird, though.
yeah, it was really weird. And then like early November, it was like 72, 75 degrees, and I was like, this is strange. Like maybe early mid November. And then I don't remember it snowing at all the rest of the year. And then 2021, we started getting the nonsense with snow on and off. So the point is that like that time of the year is kind of weird. It's like you might have gotten snow first week of December, but there's a good chance that you won't have. So you would probably have to come honestly in the worst month, which is January.
Yeah, like
February.
January. Yeah, that's when I'm planning.
That's when you would have to actually come and see the snow. My God, yeah, it's not a good time. But I mean, like it's not as bad as it used to be in previous years, from what I've heard. So, anyways, if you are in the area, let your boy know.
Of course.
I don't even know. I said let your boy know.
I said, of course, yeah.
I thought you said what? Yes. I'm not always around, but anyway.
It's okay.
Figure my life.
Yeah, you're gonna see some snow for real, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that whole thing about traveling, I mean, it's like kind of I know it's a little off topic, but like the being able to go places and like work remotely and take advantage, I would definitely like to do that. But like you said, the cost is not sustainable for like going somewhere unless you like really know people. But even then, it's like you're in their space. I'm not, I don't have necessarily all my stuff. Do I really want to pack that much stuff to be possibly in someone's place. And then working remotely, what kind of space do they have where I can work comfortably and talking? I mean, even if I don't have, you might still need to like chat, or they might be the ones who are doing a lot of talking. It's
right. Yeah.
It just depends on the kind of setup they have, but I've never took advantage of it. Kind of wish I had when things were cheaper, when flights were cheaper, when even probably like if I wanted an Airbnb, that would have probably been a lot cheaper at different points in 2020. At the same time, the pandemic was very, very, not that it's not real now, but it was very real then. And so it also may have been logistically difficult to have tried staying in someone's Airbnb or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or friends' places where it's like, I don't know if I want you to come to my place for.
Yeah. Because you definitely can learn about somebody when when they come and visit, even for like a couple of days, and you're just like, yeah, I want my space back. like sometimes like the person, like there could be like literally nothing wrong with them. Like they'll just be like an amazing person, and it's just like I just want my space back.
Yeah. Right.
Like they could do laundry for you, cook for you, and you're just like, no, I just don't want you in my space. There's really nothing wrong with you. It's me. It's all me.
get me
Like,
started.
I need you gone.
Don't even get me freaking started. You could have people cooking for you. Possibly of the opposite gender.
Oh, here we go. You done got this man Toby started. Right,
Great.
Chad.
Cool. This is awesome. Yes, we're really happy you're amazing. Just doing
Exactly.
stuff. Like I'm like, these are
Yeah.
good people. We're having a good conversation, but my battery is like going low, and I don't know how much I can really entertain you still. I'm just gonna sit here quietly because I don't know what else to say. Even if they're good friends who I talk with often or I see often when I go out, I'm just like, okay.
I mean, it's true though. Like we really do have just like meters when it comes to dealing with like people,
Hmm.
and like that's that's one of the reasons why like I really just have to like tip my hat off to parents like you, Ron, because like it's like they can't just like it's like you can't just like send them to the store because they're too young. Like they can't you can't just like you
I
can't.
mean, they tend to walk to the corner store, which is like around the corner, so it just
Okay.
happens that way. But
Okay.
even then, no, I get your point. I do. Trust me. Oh, trust me. I get your point. I do. If I just want them to go and be gone, like just go to your grandparents' house. Like walk there. She's in walking distance, or walk to your cousin's house. Again, within walking distance. Walk to your friend's house. Like just get out, please, leave. But be
Right.
back at this point in time because I don't want you going too long because the people out there they're a little bit crazy and I could get a little bit crazy and my type of crazy will put me in jail. Just saying. Just saying.
It's like you gotta come home because I'm so responsible for you. So
Yes. Until you hit 18. Once you hit 18, you are grown. You could do whatever legal thing you would like to do in this whole United States. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. And even then, the missus, she does it even worse. She says, I'm gonna put a U-Haul truck right in front of the house. You pack all your stuff in there. It's good to go. You just take that U-Haul wherever you need to go, wherever your destination is at. It'll get you there. Here's a little bit of money. I hate to see you leave, but you gotta go. Bye.
I know it may sound like I know it may sound like I don't hate to see you leave, but I really do. This is
Yeah.
very painful. It's just necessary for me. So I can say
Yes. Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
It hurts me,
But
it hurts you, but it also
that
hurts
one.
more for you not to leave.
Yes. Yes. Which coincidentally segue into our topic for tonight. And it takes a village to raise a child. I know we've heard this saying once and once before, times and times before, but no, literally, it really does take a village to raise a child. Like I remember growing up and living with my mom for like part of my life, and or for part of my childhood, I should say. And of course, I had my aunts and my uncles; they would help my mom out. My grandma, of course, she was always there. And so we were just like always around like family and friends and whatnot. And even the friends that my mom knew, they always took us in, made sure me and my brother had food, had this, had that, and everything else. If my mom was working late, they'll step in, like, hey, we'll watch your kids while you're going to work. We'll make sure they're cool and safe. Here's our phone numbers. If anything weird happens, give us a call. Or if we're living in the same apartment complex, we're right across the hall. Come knock on our door. Doesn't matter what's going on. Knock on our door. We'll open it. We'll answer it. And it was always like that. When I lived with my dad for the other remainder part of my childhood, going into my teenage years, it was literally the same thing. My next door neighbor had two kids, and they were really cool. My mom, my stepmom, and my dad, and my next door neighbor, they were all good friends, and so we would play with her two kids, and then we also had a neighbor that lived across the street from him. Got to know their parents, got to know their kids, and even then, neighbors next door to us and neighbors not in front of us, but kind of like towards the right, so like kind of kitty corner. We knew their parents and everything else, and so we always had like people watching out for us, and even our neighbor two houses down, he would swing by, and just to make sure everything was cool and everything was great. And so it was like we always had somebody there, to make sure, hey, are you good? Are you taken care of? Do you need this? Do you need that? You know, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Or just putting in like little tidbits and pieces as we're getting older. And by the time we graduated high school, we were basically on our own, but we still had a lot of those same people just come in our lives. It's like, hey, do this, or hey, don't do that, or hey, if you do this, you should go about doing it this way because it's going to open up this, and this. And
Mhm.
so we always felt as though like being within that type of community would help. And even as an adult with my own kids, I actually see me being that same role model as those people who were with me when I was a kid. And it just amazes me when I see, of course, my neighbor across the street, he comes over and he says, hey, mom, hey, dad. Me as a kid, I'm like, I wouldn't dare do that. Like, no, like I only have one mom, I only have one dad. And for you and for me to call somebody else my mom and dad, it just didn't seem right. It didn't fit right. But these kids nowadays, they're like, yeah, call your mom and dad. And I'm like, okay, like now I'm getting it. Back when I was a kid, not as much. But now that I am an adult with kids of my own, I get it. I get it. It makes a whole lot of sense. And so, um,
An emotional support animal on the plane.
uh, let's see. I don't know about that, but I do want to pick. I do want to. I do want to piggyback off. I do want to piggyback off what DJ Elf said in the first one.
Okay,
You
what's
know,
up?
and to a certain extent, I would, I will agree with you to a certain extent. However, what I would say is this much is that the example that was given to me when I was a kid, a lot of the people they didn't go to college. They said, "Hey, if you could get a trade, that's even better. If you can become an entrepreneur, that's even better because you don't always have to go to college. You don't always have to do the traditional things that we had to do in order for you to make it. Like there's different avenues, there's different options that you can take. And even then, a lot of times they may not have like a whole lot of money, but it was the knowledge that they put into us that was worth more than what anything that could it was worth more than what money could pay, worth a whole lot more. And even still then, even a lot of the values and the knowledge that I've gained over the years, I find myself doing the same exact thing. Like, hey, if you want to go to college, okay, cool, great, go to college. But if you want to go and get a trade, go ahead and get a trade. Like there's more than one thing that you can do. You can learn a skill that will help you to become an entrepreneur. Like learn code, you can do that. There's so much that you can do nowadays versus when I was growing up. Literally The information's in the palm of your hand. Literally, if you don't know it, you can search it up, and you can find it, and you can use that to be better. And
Mhm.
even I tell my kids, like, be better than me and your mom. Like, I don't care what you do in this whole wide world, but if you could be better than us, then at least we know at the end of the day we did our job. And if you can make the society a whole heck of a lot better, then that is a plus in my book. And a lot of the kids in my neighborhood, that's what we do. We support them by saying, hey, there's different options, there's different avenues, there's different ways you can do things. You don't always have to go this route. You don't always have to go this route. You don't have to always go this route. You don't always have to go this route. There's so much literally at the palm of your fingers. The only thing you have to do is ask, and people will point you in the right direction, you know? And even then, like a lot of times, even now, we see just in my neighborhood in particular, we tend to come together a lot because we know that a lot of our kids, they all go to the same schools. They pretty much are in the same classes, play on the same sports teams. So it's like it's not an issue of us coming together. I can't say that for any other neighborhood. I just know that for my particular neighborhood, a lot of times we tend to come together and we have fun. And we allow the kids to come together and have fun. If there's issues going on, we tend to come together and solve those issues ourselves. Sometimes we may have a principal come in to kind of help be the mediator. But at the end of the day, we know that we want what's best for our kids, and that's to make sure they have a better life than what we had. And then make sure that we give them all the tools necessary to make sure that they're successful. We can't do success for them, but give them the tools, the resources, the knowledge, pour into them so they can make good choices, good decisions, and be great young men and women in the society or whatever they want to be. In rant.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think it makes sense overall. It can just get so abstract sometimes. Like, how do you, like, what are these resources? How do you kind of mitigate or manage
Mhm.
people getting like making good decisions? Because I mean, in a family, like, which is already like hard enough to like be a parent, right? But then like when you have so many external kind of people in the community, like you have like there's that trope of like if you get in trouble, you're gonna get a whooping from everyone on the way home, like before your parents get home, because like you have all these auntie, uncle figures, you might have your barber, whoever. Like that doesn't always exist now. But even if it does, it's like um, I don't know. I guess I don't know exactly like how to say it or how to word it, but it's just like there's so many factors out of your control. And you kind of just have to hope that all the pieces are in place and all
Mhm.
the trusted figures are there that will like help guide the youth, right? Whatever that means exactly. Um, I think it's interesting because I didn't necessarily grow up in like one. Like I know, like I guess I did have like I was in one town that was relatively smaller, and there was a church, and I knew people from there, but I didn't necessarily know my neighbors. Well, my next door
Mhm.
neighbor, yes, but others no, and then other people in the neighborhood, definitely not. Um, so like it was always kind of just like yeah, me and my siblings and my parents, next door neighbors, and then people from church. And then we moved when I was in like seventh grade, so it was a pretty jarring time to move because that's right when puberty is kind of starting. It was
Mhm.
middle school, um, so I was like, and that's where my family still lives to that house. Well, that town that we moved to back in 2006, and so
Mm.
then I really didn't know people in my neighborhood. I knew across the street neighbors, and someone down the cul-de-sac that we kind of knew of, but like I kind of never really like had that experience where you have like a big kind of community, at least geographically there. Like maybe because at that point when I was going to a church, it was an hour away, so it wasn't at all in the same town. Excuse me, and they were like other African, other Nigerians, so like we knew them, but
Mhm.
you know, we had networks mostly through church, but like proximity. We didn't quite have like some deep like community that was helping to raise us. It was really just like us within our family, and then like we had like actual cousins who live like basically an hour away. So like we did go to them a lot. They came to us, but like this kind of greater community, like when I watch things like Luke Cage or like any like black TV show or movie, and you kind of see like these like neighborhoods, and you have these kind of common spots, like the barber shop or like the bookstore or whatever. I'm like, I never could relate to it because I never had those type of like. I mean, we had a community center, like the first town that I grew up in, Salisbury, Maryland. There was like a community center, but again, that kind of was because of church. So, which I mean, is still a valid like structure, but kind of like not really part of like not like I don't know. I never exactly. I feel like it's something I've disconnected from, and even when I like am now an adult, and I'm like, what kind of community do I want to be a part of? My communities are much more decentralized, or that they're more like kind of online organizing, like the Boston Black Professionals, for instance. We're in different places, and we all kind of come into Boston or surrounding Boston for social events. But if I was gonna think about like, well, where's like the community center and the library or the this spot, it's like it's so foreign to me. It's like I could go to this random community center, but it doesn't have anything to do with where I live, especially because I bounce around between towns. And I could leave the state, go back to Maryland. Even if I do that, I still don't feel like I'll be connected to the community. Maybe I could like get back in touch with people I personally know, but like those people are all kind of like random friends, not even necessarily the same race or same background. So I don't know. I'm kind of over the place, but I think like when it comes to community, I don't know like how you exactly foster that, like, especially like the mix or the link between like policy. So like being able to know like who's on your school council or like your school board, like local elections. That's been something that's much more foreign. And even when I got into the whole political scene, I was in a whole other state here in Massachusetts, and so like I barely kind of feel the connection the way you would, Ron, because you put down roots. You have multiple children. You're married. You have all these things, and you kind of can see the different pieces and how the community and how the policies and laws and whatever affect you. And I'm just here, I'm just floating from one group to another, from one area to another, and even work-wise, I'm not like working for like a local business. Kind of like the way like I would think when Yang would talk about like the $1,000 a month and how like all this money kind of goes back into your local community. It made sense intellectually, but not so much personally, because I didn't really have that kind of local community where you can see like all the businesses flourish. The mechanic is getting more orders because people are spending more, and then that's creating this. Like I understood conceptually that concept and knew it was important, but I'm like, I can barely relate to that because I'm not necessarily in tune with my local businesses that again are all over the place, given that I've lived in a lot of different areas, 4 different houses in Maryland, college, upstate New York for 2.5 years. Now I've lived in like 4 different towns in Mass, and I've been in like 3. I've been here for like 3 years. So anyway, I kind of like can pass the question on, or you guys can play off of it or talk about whatever. But I think it's like interesting for a lot of us who don't necessarily have that exact community. Nowadays, you go to the community center as an adult. Yeah, it's like I've never gone to the community center really, like freaking my town or even my past town. My past town actually had a deeper community, a lot of Africans, a lot of different ethnicities, and a lot of working class. But even then, I was like, I don't know what community centers are. I've been in people's houses, and I have friends who have kids and stuff, and that was fine. But I wouldn't just go to like a random center, right, and be like, hi, you and your 3-year-old. Anything going on? I'm probably never coming back here again.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. Well.
Oh, I mean, Chad brings up an interesting point. Like, when I go to a community center as an adult, and you're a childless adult, maybe not so much childish, but probably childish too. But it's it is kind of like, I mean, I'm a woman, so if I were to like talk to a child, it's not as weird as like an adult man. Even though like he could just as easily want to just support the youth in the neighborhood. Like that's not weird.
Right.
But still, like, like I live like in the suburbs, and it's like it's sort of weird, like being young and single and childless. Like I could see how like my town and like my city and my area is like kind of geared towards like families, which is fine. But it's just also sort of like I don't know. I don't know. I have like two different ways of thinking about this. Like one, and I know we don't like we want to talk about infrastructure later, but like I think this, can be said like kids don't really have freedom until like they're like 16 and can drive, essentially. So like prior to that, it's like you have to like rely on like your parents or like your parents' friends or like your friends' parents sort of thing to kind of get around. Like, yeah, you can take the bus or maybe bike if you happen to live close to like your other friends and like your friends' parents. Yeah. Or your parents' friends. Like in the community, like your community that the child has created. So it can pose like it could be a little difficult, to like kind of create and strengthen those ties. So it's great that your kids can walk to like family members' houses. I think that's awesome. Like growing up, like we always like pretty much lived in North Broward, but like my cousins and stuff lived like further south in Broward and still. And I don't know, like I just didn't feel like we were like particularly close. And like so like seeing each other during like the holidays was, I want to say it was awkward. It was just sort of like you'd hear like my cousins talking about things, was like how they just like hung out the other day, and and I haven't seen them in like a year, and it was just sort of, it was just kind of like, okay, but like I don't know, like my dad would just be like, my dad would travel for work ish. Well, you wouldn't like travel like out of this state or county really. It would just be like he would go around and fix like printers and copiers at businesses. So
right.
So you drive around and do that. And then so like sometimes, like he like maybe like after work he would go visit his brothers, my uncle or his sisters, my aunts or something. So, he would do that on occasion, especially if he was like in that area. But when you're you don't have a car because cars are expensive, and like, and you're not old enough to drive, you can't really like go and like really create relationships with like your family. And like there was like sometimes just like other reasons, like my parents are just kind of weird anyway. Like it's like yeah, we could have done a lot of things, and yeah, I don't really know why we didn't. Well, I know why we didn't. I just don't want to share right now. But like, a lot of it has to do with money. I'm not going to deny that. But like other things, it's just like some weird shit. But like sometimes I do think about that because like I left for college when I was 17. So like by the time actually, and I got my license like on my 17th birthday. So I failed the driver's test the first time. Like, I
We'll never talk about that.
Hey, but
No.
so far, I'm a safe driver according to my license.
That works. That works.
You can't be a bad driver if you don't drive. perks of working from home. But regardless, like, yeah, so, I started college at 17. So, like, if you think about like the legal age to drive is 16 to get your license. And then I pretty much just had like a year. And then I went off to college. So, like I didn't really have like any like independent time to go and like visit my family or like really like, and like even like, but like by that time I don't really feel like we were particularly close. And this could just be like in my head. Maybe like to them they're just like, wanting to be closer, and like that just didn't happen. Maybe I was just like awkward. Maybe like, me and my siblings may come off a certain way, and like they may see it as one way when we're actually like another way. Like who knows? Like who the fuck knows? But like it's probably not as bad as we think. But like in terms of just like being raised by like family and stuff, like extended family's just been like a little bit difficult, as opposed to like parents, friends, really like like not so much still. Like this would probably have to be like another conversation about my family, my parents, because like sometimes I think back and I'm like, geez, this was fucked. But I was like, this is
Okay.
I was like, yeah, like like just being able to like I guess like create friends, and like my friends became like a like a good chunk of like my family, and some of us are still close to this day. And just like starting to like become like so like I guess it was like in a way like kids raising themselves, if I want to like, not saying like my parents weren't really anything, but like my parents of course were there, but like they weren't really, especially my mom wasn't really the type to like boost our confidence. Like she was very scared and like anxiety driven, like, and she kind of just like instilled those like fears and anxieties into us. So like, like driving would be scary. So she didn't really want us, especially me, because I guess I'm the youngest and a girl. She didn't really want me to drive much. She like she'd be okay with me hanging out with my friends one day, then the next day just suddenly get scared and like not want me to like hang out because she just, I don't know, like got like a feeling. And so she was like very like, she pretty much just wanted to just like be in the house because she was just like so scared of essentially nothing. And so like like having like the friends that I had and even still have, like like I feel like because of like how they grew up and what they know, and like, and them being like very open-minded and like very like smart and inquisitive, even at a young age, like it kind of just like helped build me. So like I guess that's the like part of the village, like even the children themselves, because of just like how they may have grew up or what they may have read and learned and were interested in, like that, just like sort of like just being able to communicate and talk to them and things like that just like really kind of helped me and mold me as a person. Like there was something I wanted to like to say, but I can't quite remember. But yeah, like so that was right. Like back in 2017 or 2018, like the Parkland shooting, a lot of people were saying how like, oh, those kids are very smart, they're very brilliant, and as I said before on this stream, on a previous stream, like one of those teachers, was one of my teachers back in like my high school, because like I'm from around here. It just sort of kind of just goes to show like that kind of intelligence was just sort of the norm that I was around, and I didn't really know, and I was like kind of just like taking it for granted. But like when I think back just now, like talking about it, like it really like kind of just like helped me and just like kind of molded me into who I am because, I didn't want to just sit here and just live my life in fear and anxiety and just like all these what ifs that may not even happen while I'm just like not getting to like live my life. So yeah, rant over.
Oh, you're fine.
Signing off.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. And let's see. And excuse me. And when I think about a lot with both you, L, and what Toby is saying is like it does bring in a different perspective because it almost seems in my thinking and the way how I'm looking at things, it almost seems as though that your guys' communities weren't like necessarily close per se. It was kind
Like
of
in
more
distance,
so
you mean?
just, huh?
Do you mean like in
No, like there
distance or
wasn't
like in
no, like it wasn't like a close knit, like meaning like it was pretty much you guys, and then that was it. Or if you had friends with like a neighbor or two, that's pretty much where that went. As far as anything outside of that goes, no, not even,
Mm-hmm.
not even. And so,
Mhm.
and I think, in my opinion too, I think that a lot of it could be just because a lot of times a lot of people don't really trust other people,
Mhm.
especially if they don't necessarily take the time out to know them or get to know them for whatever reason. And it could be because work schedules maybe conflicting. It could be because they're always on the go, life happens, busy, whatever the case may be. And even still, like a lot of the people that I've met, a lot of times either they didn't have kids or their kids were already out the house and they were grown. And so it was
Mhm.
just pretty much them at home. They didn't have anything else to do. I
Mhm.
think the one person who probably instilled in me and my brother the most was our neighbor across the street. And I'm not trying to be funny. I swear I'm not trying to be funny. They were the Joneses. They were the Joneses. Like the lawns was always cut nice and neat, and they always came outside. They were always sitting on the front porch whenever the weather was nice, just to kind of be there. They had a golden retriever who was in the fence, and if you got too close, he would bark at you. And I think the one time my stepmom had me to go over to the house for whatever reason. It was kind of like get something and whatnot. Went over there, the dog came out. It was like, as a kid, I'm terrified. Like, holy crap, it's a dog. It's bigger. Wow. He was always barking. And Mr. Jones like, Bo, shut up. Leave him alone. He said, come on, bless you. He's like, bless you.
Bless you.
He said, come on, son. He won't bite. I kind of looked at him like, are you sure? It's like, come on, he won't bite. I promise you, he won't bite. So left the gate, walked in. Sure enough, the dog didn't bite me, but he sure enough wanted to lick my face off. Like again, he wanted to lick my face off. Wanted to lick my face off. Like, oh, you just a dumb dog as it is, anyways. You're not gonna bite. It's like, yeah, stepmom sent me over to get something this and there and asked if you guys had it. It's like, oh yeah, we've been had it. We were trying to give it back to her, but she's always been busy working and everything else. She's like, yeah, huh, sure, go ahead. And it's like, oh, cool. Like, you guys are actually pretty cool people. Like, yeah, we see you guys a lot, and this is pretty much the first time we had a conversation with you. Like, okay, good to know. But they were like the most down to earth people in the neighborhood, and they were very giving, very loving. And it was just like, okay, if there's anything that was going on, typically they would be the first to know. And they would pretty
Mm.
much let everybody else in the neighborhood know, like, hey, this is what's going on, da 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 da. Make sure you get there, especially if there's like a community meeting that was going on. They always told us, hey, if you guys can get down to the community meeting and figure out what's going on, go for it. Like, very proactive. They were very proactive as far as voting wise go. They were very proactive as far as whatever was on the ballot that year for the city to let everybody else know, like, hey, you need to be in the know. You need to figure out what is going on and just listen. If you don't do anything else, just listen to what's being said. I'm like, okay. So I think the 1 year my stepmom took me and my brother and my stepsister, we went down to the community center. They were talking about, like, hey, we're proposing to increase, the property taxes. How do you feel about that? My stepmom, she kind of sat the job, but she's like, I don't like that because I live on the corner street, which means that I'll be paying taxes not only for the main road that my house lives on, but I'll also be paying the property tax for the other side of the road that my house lives on. I don't think I want to do that because that means that not only do I have to pay more, but I will have to work a little bit more in order to cover for everything else in my house. So I'm like, okay, what's paying taxes? I'm a snot-nosed kid. I don't know what paying taxes is. I just know I gotta get up, watch cartoons, eat, brush my teeth, wash my face, get ready for school, do homework, do chores, like typical kid stuff. Like paying taxes, what is that? Paying rent, what is that? Electric bill, what is that? I didn't know a whole lot, but every now and then my dad would kind of pull me aside, like, hey, this is what it costs to maintain this household. This is that and the third. These are the bills and everything else. Like, oh, so you got to pay that every month. Like, yep. If I don't pay this every month, we're not going to have this, or we're not going to have that. We're not going to have this. We're not going to have that. So a lot of times, a lot of the fun stuff that you guys want to do, we may not be able to do it because we got to take care of the bills first. As a kid, it didn't hit me. As an adult, it hits. Like, tell my kids the same thing. Like, hey, listen, between me and your mom, if you guys want a place to stay, to have a roof over your head and everything else, we got to make sure these bills are taken care of. If we have anything left over, if we plan something that's where we're able to do stuff, then yes, we can do that. But for right now, as long as we got roof, electric, water, you got a place to stay and it's warm, you got food that you're not starving and whatnot. It may not be food that you like, but at least it's something that, you won't go to bed hungry on. You got that, and they're like, okay, cool, great. And now as they're getting older, they're starting to recognize that. And they're like, okay, we get it. We get where you're coming from. We understand that, you and mom, you guys do a lot for us. Like, I know we're trying to teach you that because by the time you get out of high school, and if you mess around and have kids of your own, you're going to know what it's going to take to make sure that not only is your child taken care of, your children taken care of, but the whole household is taken care of. And you have to know what's going on now, so that way you can always be ahead of the game. Figure out what's going on as far as the laws are being concerned, because it's going to affect you. Be concerned of who's running for election, because you're going to have to deal with them for the next 2 to 4 years or 2 to 8 years, depending on how long the terms are going to be. You're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to learn what's being put on the ballot, because to you, it may not have a direct effect, but a lot of the things, it doesn't happen right away. It's a build-up process, because you need to know what's going on. You need to know who's running for your school boards, who's teaching your kids as far as the curriculum goes, like what's going on. You have to be in the know. You have to. And so I know my daughter, she likes to read. She likes to surf the web and figure out what's going on, but she's so inquisitive. Whatever she finds, she brings up, like, hey, have you heard about this? No, I haven't heard about this. What do you know about it? Well, according to this, how do you feel about it? Good question. I don't know, because I have to do my own research. Well, okay, you do your research. You let me know what you find out. Let's talk about it. She's that type of person where if she wants to know, she's going to know, and you're not going to stop her. My oldest son, he's the same way, but he could be a little butthole when he does his. It's like, oh, you don't know? you should have been known. Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
you should have been known. But for him, it's like he always has an ear on the ground as it is, anyways.
Okay.
So it's like he's not going to allow just any other thing just like walk past him. He's like, no. He kind of looks at it, thinks about it for a little bit, talks amongst his peers, then gets their little feedback, thinks about it a little bit more, then comes like, hey, this is what's going on, this is how I'm feeling, and yada yada yada, or this is what's going on at school. What do you think I should do? Talk to my friends about it. They said I should do this, they say I should do that. What should I do from your perspective, from your point of view? And we give it to them.
Mhm.
And we're like, at the end of the day, we can't force you what you should do. We can't tell you what you need to do. But at the same time, you have to make that final decision for yourself.
Mhm.
You have to use whatever tools, whatever resources that you have available to make that sound decision. And once you make that decision, stick to it, stick with it. And sometimes it may work out, sometimes it may not work out. But that's a part of life, because if everything always worked out, what's the point? You won't really necessarily learn anything, and you won't necessarily gain anything. It's just like you're always going to think, I'm always right, I'm always right, I'm always right. Like, no, sometimes you could very well be wrong, and you have to accept that.
Or it could just be like, like it's like a different perspective on things. Like,
Yes.
it's like he's not necessarily wrong, but like, have you ever thought about it like this way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
Oh yes, Amira. Yes. I mean, there's been times where we had some really tough sit down discussions, especially when it came to like bullying at school and whatnot. And it was like, yeah, we probably need to have a sit down conversation with this, and just hearing from their point of views, hearing their perspectives, and allow them to showcase their emotions as far as how they're feeling right there at that point in time. And just remind them, like, we're always here. We're always going to be here for you. And even just not even my kids, like there's kids in the neighborhood who would come in, knock on the door, like, hey, can I talk to you? Because da 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 da. Okay, cool. What's up? Let us know what's going on. How can we help you? Like, what it is that you need help with. What are you dealing with? I have found out that somebody was on drugs. It was like, holy crap, are you serious? Like, yeah. And not talking about like marijuana, like some hard stuff.
Okay.
Like, yeah, and it was like, dude, why? You're a smart kid. You're a bright kid. Like, why would you do that? And child proceeded to tell me like what was going on. Like, okay, got you. It's like, okay. So I was like, so what can we do to help you out so you don't go down that road again? What are you dealing with at this point in time that said that you had to deal with it this way?
Right.
And proceeded to just pretty much lay everything out and whatnot. So like, okay, like, got it. Like, I got it. And even in talking to the missus about it, like, okay, this is what's going on. How you feel about it? Like, it's hurtful because it's like we get where he's coming from, and at the same time we've been there. Like, we just got to do what we got to do. At the end of the day, just make sure that they have a safe place to come, and just know that if they cross that threshold of our door, they're going to be safe and they're going to be heard. They're going to be valued. We have rules, we have regulations as far as, hey, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do this, but you're okay to do this, this, and this. And as long as you abide by those rules, we have no problem opening our doors to you. None whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And And we kept that as a rule of thumb, even when our oldest was like a kid, like 8, 9. We've always had that rule stuck out. When he was, especially when it was like playing with other kids and going to school. That was the main thing. Like, make sure we kept our door open for any kid because they may be going through stuff at home and they need that escape, or even if the parents are like, hey, I'm dealing with some issues, can you watch my kid for a little bit? Sure. We'll make sure that they fed, taken care of. Is there any specific instructions as far as cut up time? Like, what time should we stop giving your kid or child, water, juice, pop? Can they eat? Can they have pop? Can they have juice? Are they allowed to eat candy? Are they allowed to eat anything that's like sugary? Like, you let us know what we need to do to take care of your kid while you're gone. And a lot of the parents, they took that with gratitude because it was like, okay, you guys at least care enough to ask the right questions, and even if there's nothing going on, just to kind of check it. It's like, hey, this is what so and so's doing. They're okay. They're good. Blah blah blah. Just checking in with you. Or if you made it home, we'll send so and so. We'll wait at the door to make sure that they get home, and then let us know if anything happens. And that's just pretty much been us across the board. That has not changed. It hasn't changed. Maybe, getting a little bit older, a little bit wiser and whatnot, and kids get a little bit taller, a little bit stronger. But the
Mm-hmm.
simple fact of the matter of not only are our kids able to come and talk to us, but like I was saying before, a lot of the neighborhood kids, they tend to come and talk to us. And even with me working in the school system, seeing them outside of school, and a lot of them come and just give me like the biggest hug and whatnot. Hey, how you doing? Or they're showing me to their parents like, hey, this is Mr. Marzette and da 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 da. He's awesome. Like, yeah, my kids have told me a lot about you. Like, I just don't do anything. I play with them and ask them questions, and I give them a different perspective because I feel as though if having one perspective all the time is okay, but this is not necessarily going to help them to kind of problem solve and think on their own. And so kind of challenge their thinking by having them think about that same situation, but in a different way, in a different light. And for the most part, it's paid off because just recently, the fifth graders, they're asking me, hey, can you come work at the middle school? Because we would really love to have you there. Like, no. But I have a good friend of mine who works at the middle school. He will keep you guys in tip top shape just as much as I would. And
Mm-hmm.
if y'all get out of line, I will ask him. And if I have to come up there and get y'all back in shape, I will do so. I will do so. I have no problems doing it. No problems. Like, but I'm gonna say here. Go
Do
ahead,
you
Al.
work in elementary school or high school?
I work in the elementary school,
Okay.
and in the way how everything is set up here in Michigan, I'm able to work at all of the elementary schools if needed, the
Mm-hmm.
middle school if needed, and also at the high school if needed. And
Okay.
so, let's say if a bunch of the teachers at one school mess around and gets COVID or they get sick or whatnot, and they can't have or they don't have enough subs to cover that particular school because of me being on a low chain of command. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
else who has seniority, they get asked to go first. If they say no, then I'm basically the next one in line. Like, hey, can you go to this school and cover for this teacher? And here's their lesson plans and blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool, great. I don't mind it. Let's go. And I'm able to interact with different students. And so it's been one of those eye openers to be able to not only just teach or sub at my school building, but to go to a totally different school building and basically do the same thing and see those kids as well. And it's been fun. I love it. I love it. It's been fun.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just a side note, like my mom was a substitute teacher. I haven't really asked her about her experience so much, but like she's been teaching full time. That's why we moved in 2006, actually, because she got a teaching job. And so interesting, like that you like it. I think I might have had some friends like around my age who are subs, and like yeah, you do get to kind of like go to different schools, see different, um, have those different connections. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that you mentioned that there at the end.
Oh yeah, and again, a lot of times, especially at towards the end of the school year.
I know.
That's what actually.
I mean, I look at it like this too, and again, it goes back to the title. It really does, because a lot of kids that I typically work with, a lot of times they come from households where it's jacked up. Just to kind of put it mildly, it's jacked up, and they
Mhm.
don't have anybody else to pretty much talk to, let alone the group of people or the team that I'm with. Besides those two ladies, they really don't have a whole lot of people to talk to, let alone they don't have an actual father figure to look up to anyways. And so when the principal hired me on, she hired me on with the expectation of me being that father figure that a lot of the kids did not have, another person that they could talk to regardless of who it is, but also at the same time be a person of color who is positive in her life, because a lot of times a lot of the people that make up that school, or the make up the school population, I'm pretty much the only person of color that they've probably seen outside of school, you
Mhm.
know, or like if they go to the grocery store, depending upon what grocery store they go to, they may not see a whole lot of people of color. They may not, especially like a young male who has kids their age. A lot of times they don't see that. Normally they'll see somebody that's a little bit older, or somebody that could be like their older brother, but nobody like necessarily that's like within their father's age range. Just to kind of throw that out there. And so it does make a huge impact, and that impact paid off, because not only were the kids asking me like, hey, are you coming back next year? Are you going to be here next year? I'm like, I hope to be here next year. As far as what my capacity might be, I don't know. And even the teachers that's like, hey, are you coming back next year? Like, I hope to come back, but at the same time, like, as far as what my role is going to be, as far as what kind of capacity the new principal is going to have me as, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you guys think there's less of this village nowadays? And if so,
Mhm.
why? Where is it better? Where is it worse? I think this is an excellent question, Chad.
Yes,
Um,
very excellent question.
I think there is less of a village nowadays,
Hmm.
personally, um, because of um, I briefly mentioned just like children not really having kind of like a level of independence until like they're able to drive at like 16. Parents having to like take them everywhere, and like their neighbors may not, be of their age,
Hmm.
and like family may not be close by either. So, like just like a network of people you can trust is very is smaller. Also, like we're spending a lot more time indoors and therefore like on the internet. So we're creating we're
Mhm.
creating digital villages, and you know, and I don't even have to really like specifically go into why that's not the best thing. Like I feel like if you've, I don't know, been around for more than 5 days, you can already realize that if you've been on the internet for at least 5 days, you would have seen that it's kind of shite. But there are spaces in the digital world and on the internet that are great villages that are incredibly helpful, that are safe, that are uplifting and non-judgmental. They're not as
Mhm.
easy to find though. Like the easier ones and more popular ones tend to be very like tend to spiral towards like a negative um like dirty kind of feel. Um so I think we're all desperately in need of a community. Community is um like um because I've been like I follow Serena Williams' husband Alexis Ohanian on Twitter, and he's also like the co-founder of Reddit, and he's always talking about community and like community is like what's gonna be like the center driver for like creating businesses now rather than I guess just like money and a strong fist or whatever. And I think that's true because like we're not we don't really get like a sense of community until maybe like college or after college. Sometimes high school if you know do like a sport or like an extracurricular activity. That's something that I really wish I could have done. But like because I have a brother with autism, I had to like, pretty much go home with him. And so like I couldn't really like get that sense of community really. So um like personally I think there's just less of a village. Um where is it better? I guess, like I said, like some internet pockets are better because then you can actually talk to people all over the world, and be able to connect with people that you normally wouldn't have. Because like prior to the internet, which is kind of like how I grew up, I mean, I guess I could have done like AOL, like chat groups or like if that's what they were called, chat rooms, if AOL chat rooms or uh like what other group sort of thing? Like I guess there were games, I think there were like some RPG games back in the day, like maybe Facebook and like MySpace. I probably could have connected with people, but there weren't really
Mhm.
like communities in those spaces quite yet. Back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. Um, But I don't know. I know that people were meeting people online, like mainly like MySpace and things like that. But regardless, I think so. It's better that way to be able to relate to more people further away. And but it's definitely worse because, as we all know, misinformation travels faster than truth, and misery definitely loves company, and you could see that quite vividly on the internet. So yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Mhm.
Ron, Toby.
Go ahead, Toby. Take a stab at it.
Yeah. Um, I mean, the short answer is like I would agree that there is less of a village, at least like that physical. I mean, that's also kind of my experience, like I mentioned before, where you know I didn't really see it as much. Like I kind of had it when I was really really young to some degree, and then as I got older, I kind of noticed that it was a bit more like fend for yourself. Like you kind of have your direct family, but there wasn't as many of these bigger communities. At least not that I could see. Like even Thanksgiving, I remember. Again, this is like anecdote, but like even Thanksgiving, I remember when I would go to my aunt's and there would be all these other people. They weren't direct family, but they were kind of like in the same maybe network. of church people with my aunt, and it was always like a pretty big thing. Like you go, there's a bunch of people, there's a bunch of kids. I don't like who these people exactly are, but they're all Nigerian, pretty much. And like you're just there. There's great food, but in recent years, it's been way more scaled. Well, not even just recent years. I could say for like over 10 years. 2012 was when I graduated high school, maybe even 15 years, because I remember even at some point like 2010 or 2011, I remember going to Thanksgiving, and it was just me, my family, and then my aunt's family. And so I kind of noticed, wow, it really does seem to be somewhat kind of scaled down. Like I don't see these kind of bigger communities as much as I used to see them. And it's not necessarily that everyone had the same transition, but even like when I was younger, I used to play soccer in the community when I was in Salisbury, Maryland. Again, I don't really see these people elsewhere, but I would see them when we play soccer. I had we did vacation Bible school over the summer. So summertime was pretty active because vacation Bible school, that was like a church network. This was like a probably mostly white church, not the African one I was involved with when I was older. But I would remember being in vacation Bible school, and I had mixed feelings, but like I did enjoy the social aspect, and I did like, kind of the socializing. There was there were just other activities, and I feel like a lot of that dropped off by the time I got older. There was no more community. Granted, moving also kind of uprooted everything, but there was no more community sports. Like I did golf and soccer both in the community when I was younger. And then even when I was going to church, it was no longer in the town that I lived. It was an hour away. So, I mean, I didn't really have a lot of strong connections. And I feel like overall, I mean, things end up being more decentralized. I mean, you have virtual everything because of the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, I feel like it was kind of less. And I don't know exactly how to quantify it. But, I think also social media, of course, is always an easy punching bag because it creates community, but then you also kind of, for better or worse, you either find like minds and kind of hone in on them, right? And so you kind of maybe see less of like the general surrounding community because you kind of are honed in on the group that you're focused on. And you can find various virtual communities for sure. But especially as as a full adult, you might spend more time online than you do IRL, right? So if you are, then that's definitely that. I mean, at that point, you're already a whole adult, so it's not like you're being raised by the outdoor community, but you're not necessarily contributing to it. And maybe you have less people contributing to the community, which could then affect the next generation. Especially for those of us who are kind of scattered elsewhere. It's not like we necessarily moved. Because that's the thing, people also married young. I think that's actually a big thing too. Is like if you're married younger, you have your kids, you have your family, and you're here in this community. But for those of us, like another thing about marrying young is you might stay in your local community, or you will go to another place, get yourself a house. That's a whole big achievement. You see these big moves from people, oftentimes on Facebook. But now it's like, okay, if we're moving to a new place, probably because we're getting a job. Again, you might be in some random suburb that's not really near the center. And you might not really know whatever the local community is. Things might be kind of spread out and sprawled. And so it's not like we're necessarily going into that infrastructure of like, here's everyone and their kids. And now I'm joining this with my kids. And I know someone mentioned it might have been you, Chad, but someone mentioned very interesting. Yeah, it was. Everyone's in retreat from the people next door to them. Having kids tends to bring people together more, but it doesn't fix the underlying problem. And that's actually an interesting thing. I saw that. That was very, very interesting. And I didn't even follow up to ask like what exactly is the underlying problem, or like what is like, is it a rotten I mean, sorry, that sounds so dramatic, but a rotten community and society? Is it like apathy and that we're not as community minded as we used to be? I mean, this country has always been very individualistic. So like, and actually there's a very interesting post that someone sent me on Instagram. I'll see if I can find it because I mean, granted, it kind of definitely was a bit more of the I feel like it kind of was hinting at like the new world order, global reset type stuff. But and the friend who sent it, I don't know like exactly his beliefs on it, but it was very interesting. I'm actually gonna see if I can find it right now because the post basically was saying that like we need to focus more on community, more on like buying land, growing your own food, knowing stuff
Mhm.
about common law, basically like getting away from kind of the government and like some of the centralization supply chains, like get as local as you can with your local supply chains and your local farms. Um, because it basically was saying how like they shut down like everything. They shut down. They wreaked havoc on the supply chain. They wreaked havoc on like our on like a bunch of things. And so like it was kind of advocating for being like closer and connected because of like maybe the fact that when you're relying on government and other things, when something happens, you're kind of like left drying in the wind or like you're left out to dry or whatever. So um, I'm not sure exactly what the bigger like issue, underlying problem is. It sounds like there's probably multiple of them.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think that maybe we've strayed away from whatever that ideal sort of whatever that American ideal is. But I feel like you've always had a lot of different perspectives, and it's always been very diverse. Like you've had a lot of different communities, especially immigrant communities, who've come in and like nestled in certain places. Especially like when you look at New York City. I mean, Florida is a great example, especially South Florida. You look at a lot of people from the Caribbean, so you do have a lot of communities that I think are still kind of strong. But I feel like maybe as we grow up, we kind of get more individualistic and we kind of do our own thing, and maybe we don't follow necessarily the example of other people that come before us. And this is very broad because, of course, there are people who are multi generational Americans who still kind of have those like close connections. They have the multi generational household. That's another big thing, where you have people who actually live together in the same house, and that created a big sense of community because, of course, you were going to have multiple extended family there, and then you have a lot of other houses like that, and that creates kind of a stronger bond versus all these kind of like onelets. Or we like have our little like one off here. You live here. Um, Maybe I mean it seems like you're doing pretty well for yourself. Oh, like you have that house, you finally got to use your pool after like 10 years or whatever. So like you were able to foster that sense, but like it can kind of incentivize not even fostering because you have your own place. And it's not I'm not coming for you at all specifically, but just in general, like you kind of have your own place. You don't really need to see your neighbors. You don't really need to talk to or care for anyone. If you want to, cool. If someone wants to come now ask you for sugar or butter or whatever the heck happened that one time, then sure. But really, otherwise, no. Like, I'm not gonna see or really talk to my neighbors necessarily, even though we do have a nice common area that we did use a few weeks ago. Um, and I feel like that just kind of happens a lot. And I don't know how unique that is now versus even like decades ago. But I do think that this is the last point I'll say on this is I do know that like I would hear how like big developers would come and buy these houses, right? And they would turn them into these complexes where you might have some sense of community, you could, you don't necessarily need to, and versus like actual places where you have land and you have, um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's more authentic if you like actually are like your own homeowner versus if you're in one of these complexes, but it does seem like a lot of developers versus like individual homeowners. And I think if you're an individual homeowner, maybe you have more of a stake. You're part of a homeowner association. You have these things versus you're one of these complexes, which seems to kind of be looking to be more of the future. Even these like great suburban and residential areas have these type of complexes, and I wouldn't necessarily expect it. But, oh wow! So, and again, you can still have community with these types of areas, but just a few random observations.
I mean, like, I would love it. I would love to talk to, like a random guy if they were to just walk past my home, which did happen, like once or twice, which is, but, it's like, A, I would have to see him and then be like bolt out of my home and then run up to him. So that's already creepy on 2 levels. I don't know. I feel like it's just like giving 70s porno. Like if I were to do that.
I mean, listen.
run out in my robe. It's like, wait, I need a strong man to help me fix my washing machine.
I can see the plot already. Stop.
We've lost the plot.
That's
Oh
for you.
my.
There's no plot really. It's just,
Yeah, literally. There is
very
no
weird.
plot. There is no build up. It's
No.
just bam, bam, bam.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
Like it won't
Yeah,
even show.
it's-
Like it won't even have like a cut to my washing machine at all. It'll just be like straight to the bedroom. And like, but you know, everybody would be wondering like, what happened to the washing machine? Did he fix it? Like, but we'll just never know. It'll just be a to be continued.
Oh, I'm not even gonna go there.
Volume 24, pretty much.
Oh god.
They have forever continuations.
Yes. And it seems like the problem never gets solved, coincidentally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
No.
that's how you keep them coming.
Oh god. It didn't even register at first what happened. I was just like, okay, you keep it coming back. Nope.
Oh my gosh.
I was taking over my
There's
world.
nothing wrong.
Right, Chad. Right.
There's nothing wrong with this, man. It's like, maybe put the wet clothes in the dryer so you have some clothes, man.
Or like maybe, ma'am, you probably need to fix your hose because it's not draining. Like that's the problem. My hose is not draining. Oh well, here you got to put it right in here. Like Toby, you're missing it. You're missing it, sir. You're missing it, sir.
It's like I need a hose.
Oh, sorry, this apartment is not equipped with one. I do not have a complex. Let me walk you outside now so you can find someone.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't know how to fix this. Let's go to the yellow pages. Try to
Oh my gosh.
Yellow pages.
Yellow pages.
Oh jeez.
Oh,
You know,
God.
there is something though I wanted to point out.
Mhm.
Quick, DJ Elf said some interesting things there. That the structure in these type of traditional, whether it's traditional family or traditional units, or even like you have your nice little suburban, your driveway, and whatever. Yeah, I guess structure does help those who fit in, versus those who don't necessarily look like everyone else. And of course, you have people who are what's the word, rejected, right? From like they were denied home loans and different things. And so maybe you wouldn't have someone like a trans person who could have fit into that community. And hey, fair point. And like I think like now like people fit into where they want to fit in, right? So like even if you aren't necessarily in this greater neighborhood, maybe it is because you have you're different in some type of way, you don't necessarily feel comfortable, or like you like kind of I mentioned before, you have your social media groups and you'd rather kind of find the community you want to find excuse me through whatever, versus having to kind of forcefully integrate with everyone despite knowing them or not knowing them. And so people end up kind of holding up in these like other areas with people more like them, even if they're not physically with them. At least they'll like do what they want in their space, and then they kind of connect otherwise, but they don't necessarily have a connection physically to whatever greater area they are. Like I think, like even for me, again, it's like my social groups. I'll go visit individual people. I can go to whatever establishments I wanted, but I'm not necessarily, and it's not necessarily because I feel like, oh, screw these people, I don't want to be involved with my local community. It's just I feel like, especially after being in school and then being in different types of environments, my mind isn't necessarily thinking. And also growing up in communities where we didn't necessarily just like stroll to whatever areas around us. There was a time where we used to go to our public library and things, but now I don't even know what public resources exist. I couldn't tell you. I don't think I've had a library card since I was in high school. I lost the one I had in Maryland, and I looked one up last year. And I actually saw something mind blowing. I think I mentioned this before that library cards apparently are digital now. At least in one library in a town
Oh,
in Lowell. When I looked at Lowell, Mass, and library card, it said like, yeah, you can like create an account online and you would have a digital card. And I was like, oh, and I didn't finish creating. I don't even think I really started, but I clicked the first page, which was effort. And then I
true.
realized that was effort, as much effort as I could have put in that evening. But I was like, this is interesting. But it's like that even makes it more so like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, I could physically go to the library, of course. But if I already have an online card and an online account, what if now there's ebooks that you can get online? Then I really don't need to go to my public library.
Hmm.
I think it matters a lot more for young people, I would say. When I say young people, I mean like children. Because they actually have to use these public resources.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have that, then it's kind of like you don't think about it. Like if I found out there's a new grocery store that opened in town or some new whatever, I would go. But anyway, enough of my like soapbox on that.
I think you can like rent books digitally now, like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. Like, and I heard like some other stuff like what local libraries like provide and what they can do. I was like, shit, I need to check out libraries more often. The thing I don't like
Yes.
though is I'm a really slow reader. Like I just started really like getting into reading because I found a genre that I like,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still like a slow reader. So I don't know how long. Like I know I'd probably have to keep renewing the book and like just hope that nobody else wants the book. and
Right.
uh, yeah,
Or
it's
there's
like
more copies of that same book.
right, yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should try checking out books at the library because like I don't think I'm ready for like an ebook e-reader yet. I've been wanting like a Kindle for years. I don't even know why because I wasn't really like into reading until like this year. But for years I
Mm-hmm.
wanted a Kindle. But now I feel like okay, maybe after the next couple of books I might be ready for a Kindle. And take it to the beach and be that badass chick who reads on the beach.
Hey.
What you know, community space like a library goes well beyond the exact resources that. Not true. One of the cool things about libraries, though, it's like one of like the few spaces where like you don't have to really spend money. It's like a space where you don't have to spend money, and you
Right.
can get things.
Yeah.
You can get
Right.
things for free. Yeah, there should
Mm-hmm.
be more things like that. That's it. So, because like libraries are like publicly funded, like taxpayers and stuff like that, like schools and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Now that I think about it.
Yes.
Even some museums, right? Some, no. But you do have some too, where it's like, yeah, you can go to some museums, and it's like, yeah, that's free actually. That's interesting. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and, like, yeah, this actually exists. Like, you have these free services, public. You know, of course, not everything that's publicly funded would be free, but there's a lot that is like that, where you have access. So you have parks, of course, even public parks, and like um, I mean, Parks and Rec, right? You have these different kind of like organizations that you can just join and do things with. I mean, some things you pay for, like I'm really ignorant in terms of like YMCA and like some other things. I imagine there's probably some type of membership or some kind of, but maybe some of those things are free. Like I know there's like public pools, which some people say are not necessarily the best things to use depending on the area. So I've heard some that have become like low-key makeshift homeless shelters, which is really sad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which that's another thing too is like the way yeah that's a whole other crazy thing too is like some communities like just have become not so super sustainable for people um and so but I mean yeah like you have public pools and you have public there are so many areas there are so many things like even I remember when I was younger we used to go to Salvation Army pretty often. I didn't really understand the concept of a thrift store or what like I just knew that we were getting clothes cool Salvation Army but it wasn't until I was like a little older that I realized oh this is like free or it's cheap. Like I
Hmm.
remember going to one when I was in grad school, and it wasn't free then, but it was pretty cheap for all the stuff that we got. Me and my friend, And then Goodwill, which I went to once in college, and again, pretty cheap khakis that I still have to this day. I mean, yeah, something may have broken off somewhere around the button or whatever, but like it's just interesting that there are a lot of these things that are like relatively free or cheap that are in the community, and like yeah, you see the same kind of faces maybe. Talk to people, learn their story, get recommendations for places around, and just have people who maybe quote unquote could look out for you. Yeah, it's an interesting thought. And nowadays, I wouldn't even be able to tell you again where like some of these resources are. And I think the other thing too is you might have to go out of your town to find one. Like I mean, this isn't exactly these aren't public resources, but when you think about your local, or like your Walmart or like Market Basket is our big chain up there. You have Wegmans, it's a little more expensive, and I'm like, a lot of towns don't even have one. You have to drive multiple towns over to get to that. So sometimes you don't even think about where you live. You just think about kind of the surrounding few towns to get what you need. Maybe if it's like a healthcare, like primary care, if you have a network, or even if you're urgent care, if you have a network, you might look for the nearest one, and it might not even be that close to you. So you might be driving like 15 minutes to go somewhere, or like if it's really really desperate, like you're thinking of barbers or hairstylists, you might not, you're probably not looking at your random town unless you just happen to live in a very minority, or like a town that services you. You might have to be driving to like Boston, which for me would be like 22, 25 minutes just to go get my haircut. I mean, that's not that bad, but like it kind of like also divorces.
It's not convenient.
It's not convenient, right?
Right.
It kind of divorces you from that like feeling too of the community where it's like, yo, I got my barber or whatever, but well, there is not really a place around here I could think of. And then for styling, I mean, that could be anyone. Like you might have to actually like find Instagram pages, and that's something I've talked about too. How that concept of like black-owned businesses and local businesses, like a lot of it. I mean, sometimes you have like a physical brick and mortar, but some places they might not even have like a physical space. You might be going to their home, or they might come to you depending on the service. And so you might be supporting like this black-owned whatever business or community, person in the community. But what community are they a part of? And if it's something I'm ordering online, like let's say someone's you're ordering hair, or lashes, or something, they might not even be in the same state. So it's like that really doesn't necessarily like even if you're spending money for this black-owned business, it's not anything that's around you. It's not necessarily they're spending money that circulates in the community.
Right.
And so that kind of is another thought too when it comes to like the economic side of community and that kind of build up, because I get that I remember a lot of people talked about that in 2020 in the pandemic. It was talked a lot about like in our own Melanated Council of Young chats about like those different like people who were thinking of buying land, or like those like black owned like Freedom, Georgia, that place that was created as like kind of a black enclave, and that's cool. Like a lot of places are not necessarily going to be like that unless you're very intentional, and so that those communities are just so decentralized. I feel like that is hard. Like if you're going to go more into the race like side of it, where you want to support black community, well, sure, but are you around a black community, or are you kind of like a black kind of pocket, or like person in like a bigger pocket, white, or even just other races? I don't know. I'm kind of trailing off with it, but that was just like a thought I had.
No, I definitely see what you're saying about, like having to travel just to either if you like were to want to like support a black-owned business or just like a decent barber shop for you, you'd have to like really go out of your way, which is it's definitely like a hindrance for like exactly what you were saying, like like creating and establishing that community. Like when you don't have like one thing about community for sure, which has like helped me and like kind of kept me sane, is like there's a black-owned restaurant just down the street from me. They're gonna be like they're in the process of moving, not too far. It's like maybe like a minute or two further away, so that's not anything. But just having them like down the street, like there were times when like I'd just be like bored and hungry, and I was like, let me just go and hang out. They're still open, and just sit at the bar and just eat and drink, and like just got to like get to know them really well, and like we just became close, and it was just like a way to just sort of like it's like an unlikely friendship, but like I do enjoy just like just talking to especially like business owners or just like people who are working at the place or whatever, because it kind of helps like the time to go by, especially if it's not busy, and it's just like cool to kind of just see what's going on in your area and like who else is also here, because I do think that like we all do want to communicate with one another, but like we're afraid and just conditioned not to, especially with like fast food restaurants and just like very like 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 I feel like the culture of like fast food, like McDonald's, Starbucks, like these chain places, like these big establishments, doesn't really to like create like a community with the customers. It's more so just like, here's your food, here's the product, now get out of my face. And so like that also kind of just also just hurts the ability to just form a community, so to speak. Yeah. Sorry if that was it was hard to put it into words without sounding crazy or weird.
No, I mean, I feel like a lot of it is kind of like, I don't know exactly how to like wrap around the idea, but I think what you're saying makes sense. Like, it's a very real phenomenon. It's a very real thing, and like the fact that you have that like place that's like near you is like cool, because it makes it less abstract. Like you can just walk right there. It's like, yeah, I know these people that are right here. Like you can find like a random black owned, like there's like black owned dispensaries, for instance, that have popped up in Massachusetts. And that's super cool. Like I think the first like black owned female black, because already there's not many black owned. So it was either the first black owned one or the first woman black owned one. And it's in like maybe Brockton, Mass, which is a pretty minority heavy, unfortunately low income area. But like, so that's cool. But Brockton is not near me. I mean, that's like already 30 minutes south of Boston, and I remember like 25 minutes from Boston. To do the math on that, like, so it's kind of like you have these places and it's great, but it can be very abstract. Where it's like, there's a black-owned dispensary way out there, and while you might be happy to support it, because I mean, it still is great to as an example of success that yes, you have some equity here. It also is kind of like, well, you're just supporting this like random business. Like I saw a great, and this I know like we'll wrap up soon, but this was like a great post I saw. It's either early this year or late. It was something about how like you can have like these businesses and black businesses, but are they like paying people fair wages? Are they doing all these things that are good? Like, are they actually like these black owned businesses? Are they like solid, legit? Or are they kind of continuing some of the exploitation of capitalism? Are you just like contributing to black capitalism or corporatism? Well, it might not even be hugely corporate. It could still be local and still be like, treating people like crap. So I think that's another thing too, is like you kind of want to support community and create community, but then there might be certain toxic things that are still happening. And this is like timing. Like the timing is kind of like, you had the Tulsa race massacre, which happened, very end of May, basically 101 years ago. And I remember like one thing I was hearing about last year, because that was the 100th anniversary. And I remember we had a stream about that. I remember one topic or one like thing I was hearing like maybe on the radio or probably on the radio, when it was talking about some of the people who were testifying in Congress. Some of the people who were talking like about like on the segment, they were saying how like, it's a community, just like any community, you're gonna have your drama, you're gonna have your problems, you're gonna have your issues. Hey, thank you. You're gonna have like a lot of issues, and I mean that's the thing, is community is not gonna be perfect, and so it's like you want to support and you're gonna deal with your whatever, and that you just kind of have to not just be okay with that, because you always want to strive for better, but like you might have things that are less than ideal as you're creating your own community, right? And as you're kind of carving out your own path, especially in the context of like Black communities and everything.
DJ Alf was talking about weed businesses in Colorado. You have to be poor or a minority. So poor white people have been opening up dispensaries, and poor Black people can't compete with the wealthy Black celebrities from out of town.
Oh,
so some people say.
Interesting. No, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, no, but I have been like sort of hearing about that a bit, like like celebrities just opening up dispensaries and all that, which is good, but like it kind of reminds me of this Black-owned coffee shop in Fort Lauderdale, and it's like I didn't really like the coffee shop personally because it had like a drive-through and it was just like not really like a chill coffee place. Like it looks nice, but I wouldn't recommend it. And like it's Black owned, but like the owner I think was like a former football player, like a former athlete. So so it's like, yeah, this is great that this is Black owned. Like I'm not hating on this. It's just you had a massive advantage compared, it's like I don't know, but I don't know the full story, maybe there's like definitely like more to this, and like, it's great that it exists. Don't get me wrong, it's just sort of kind of like yeah, okay. Like I don't know. Like it's just not like I'm happy for him. It's just like I don't know. I feel like I'm just being like bitter and picky, but like I don't know.
That does remind me of something, but I can't remember exactly. I think like how some marketing, and it is like very different. So I'm not gonna go deep into it, but like multi-level marketing, network marketing type things, people can do well. But often those people who have the advantage already are gonna do really well, right? The people who already have the they already have like these huge networks. They already might have been business owners. They may have already been a part of a previous one. So all you have to do is kind of flood this new one, and then boom, you're in the top and you're making it. But then the lowly kind of peons at the bottom, we're not going to be able to like make money from this because you can't recruit that many crazy people or start like if it's not that kind of business. Still, like we're not going to necessarily have that advantage that someone else might have. Like Silicon Valley might have like been seen as an equalizer because it's kind of like, hey, like anyone kind of come up with a good idea and get all this crazy venture capital money, but like you probably already have to have some kind of connection or be wealthy enough to at least be able to freaking like go do that. Like Mark Zuckerberg advocated for UBI at one of the probably Harvard graduation, because he was like, we need to be able to fail. Like you can't just like drop out of school like I did and go ahead and start a business because you need that money. And so of course would help having that kind of income base to be able to take those risks, start a business, do those things. But most of us kind of already know that. I mean, it's never hurting to reinforce it, and it's kind of cool to bring it back. I didn't think of UBI previously, but obviously community and like having that kind of money flowing into the community is super cool. But then it's also kind of like what initiatives are being bettered by that versus people just spending money on what they want, which is fine. I'm not taking that away. We have loans, we have whatever. But how much of that influx of money is also going to build a community? But let me stop because I'll never like I could always kind of go back and forth with it.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that Ron had to step away for a bit, but like we do have to wrap up the stream, unfortunately. I know that it's always a hard time. Because like we're always, talking about everything and just having a lot of fun. Yeah. But over here, it's almost 11:30 at night. We got full-time jobs.
Yeah.
We need that to live. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot easier to work when you can sleep. So when you're well rested. But
Yeah.
as always, folks, it was great hanging with you all. Chat. You guys are incredible. You are remarkable. You are all the best things that life has to offer. And, we wouldn't be here without y'all, and we love you. But definitely come by next week. Same time, same trio. And you never know, we may have a special guest, but we're gonna have regardless, we're gonna have an amazing topic.
Absolutely.
So, yes. Alrighty, y'all. Yes, exactly. Sleepy time.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I'm feeling like I don't feel sleep, but the heaviness here started. I was like, oh, that's different. Huh.
That's good.
Probably my fault for sitting on this couch too.
Well, good because you need to sleep. But
Yes.
alrighty, y'all. We're heading out.
Much love. Join us next week. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much.